That's quick. Yeah, we'll get our meeting going. Call this meeting to order. Jen, will you please do roll call?
Tom McDonald,
Here?
Jennifer Finley. Here. Jim Molitor,
Here.
Carol Langford, Len Tootie,
Here.
Bing Matt,
Here.
Ellie Bundy,
Present.
Martin Charlo,
Present.
Mike Dolson,
I'm here.
James Steele Senior.
Thank you for doing that. Trying to get my Ellie voice here. Thank you. Okay, could I ask Bing, would you lead us in a prayer this morning?
Thank you, Creator, for your blessing. Thank you for watching over our families, keeping them well and safe. We thank those that lost their loved ones and give them the strength to deal with their losses, Father. Just pray for them, Father, and give them a lot of praise, Father, for their losses. We thank you, Father, for watching over our veterans and our men and women in the armed services. We thank you, Father, for just blessing this council and giving us directions today for what we've got to deal with today. We ask this all in your name. Amen.
Okay, we have our minutes from September 20th for your consideration. I know I have a couple of edits. First page at the bottom were Jay Preston's letter of support. Chairman McDonald commented on the fairgrounds are located on tribal land, and I would add that was donated for 4-H fair purposes, period. And then page 7, Steve Stanley, oh no, top of the page, again, talking about the Ronan facilities. Chairman McDonald commented the tribes own the fairgrounds land, but it should be changed. The tribes own the existing sports complex lands. Replace fairgrounds with existing sports complex land. And then the last sentence, they did a planning exercise in the past for a sports facility in Ronan. At the bottom of the page where Steve Stanley is talking about the containment boom for fuel spills, the sentence, the boom does not spread once the silk curtain is deployed, then the next sentence, it would be nice to get financial support from the Flathead Lakers to respond to spills. In the last sentence, Chairman McDonald thought it would be a good idea for the tribes and the county to jointly request support from the Lakers, Flathead Lakers. It's all the edits that I would propose at this time, or at least in my review of the minutes. Go ahead, Mike.
I would add to the minutes that I left for the rest of the day after the meeting with the commissioners for a cultural activity, actually.
9:20 minutes.
Push by Martin to approve the September 20th minutes with corrections. Second by Carol. Any further discussions? Seeing none, all those in favor, show of hands. Unanimous? Oh, you're abstaining, okay. Mike's abstaining. Alrighty. Do we have our agenda before us? We will be adding an item at the end for the Intertribal Ag Council representation. And I will be showing up late. I had previously committed months ago to didn't know we were going to work through lunch today. Tribal Nations Initiative on funding, giving. It's a little workshop or a symposium, and I'm a panelist, and so I had scheduled that during our lunch break. So as soon as I'm done, I'll rush up to Polson when that's done. So I would love to make sure that, I think Carol brought this up, that we remind our corporations how important their revenue is for us to fund government and to take direction from council very seriously in their work and diligence. And it would be nice to encourage them to come in more frequently, at least the boards, and have discussions with us. Maybe that's I know some do and some don't on a quarterly basis, but might be good to reemphasize that and help with some of our communications that one obvious one that came up just recently. We need 25 million. I'm gonna make a plea for that today at noon. Go ahead, Martin. Oh, pardon. Oh, well, part of it is some of our unmet needs. So there'll be givers that will be listening to this talk that we're doing, the panel. And so I'm gonna, talk about needing funding for our unmet needs and encouraging other tribes that have money to give, keep it in-house, pay it forward, that type of stuff. So we'll talk about the bison range, housing, drug epidemic, all those kind of things. Go ahead, Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Council. I have the Bear Tracks Bridge kind of budget. If I could put that at the very end of the day. Hopefully shouldn't take long. Hopefully Greg didn't hear that.
Yeah, we'll have that at the end of the day. Mike does need to leave it early, but I think we'll still have a quorum if everybody can hold on to the bitter end today. You appreciate it. Yeah. Okay, we'll add those two things to the end of the day. Anything for the front end of the agenda? See nothing? Martin or Len has one item. Okay. Any other changes or additions to the agenda? Seeing none, Mike, motion to approve today's agenda with changes. Second by Martin. All those in favor, show of hands. Unanimous. Okay, let's start out with Len.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, members of the council. I just wanted to do a brief update on my trip to ATNI. I attended the mid-year convention. I sat through numerous committee meetings. The content of these meetings primarily focused on federal court cases that impacted Washington and Oregon tribes. And one in particular was gaming. They are in the midst of going into court against addressing sports betting. So that's something that we really need to keep an eye I did also attend the Natural Resource Committee, and Rich Jensen and Katie Finley Squee did a brief presentation on state co-management. Did an excellent job. Really proud of our staff when they're giving presentations like that. They're very professional. So other than that, this particular convention really did not have any, I want to say, issues that addressed our tribe specifically. So just wanted to mention that I did not attend the entire conference. I had one more day, and a lot of it was just wrap up. But what I did not do was address the this would have been the ideal moment to address the firefighters pay issue. I think if we would have got DTNI support on that, and that's something I didn't think about until I was over there. So, but anyway, that's my report for the convention. Thank you.
Thanks, Len. My daughter mentioned she saw you over there, met you.
Yeah.
That was neat. All right, I guess we're jump into our first agenda item. Ruth? Ruth and Greg?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, and members of council. I'm going to have Ruth do the presentation of her first section, which is the request from the Bureau of Indian Affairs.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Tribal Council.
Oh, can't quite hear you, Ruth.
How's that? Better? Is that okay?
It might be on our end, Ruth. Is it on? Greg, I know you're going to be up at Quatuck next. So you won't be able to watch my presentation at noon, but everything is on their website. And so every one of their, yeah, there's a whole bank of them that they've done. So.
Ruth, can you try to talk again, please?
Oh, there's Martin.
Nope. You know sign language, Ruth.
Down here.
How's that?
You were a minute ago.
I'm not sounding like Alvin and the Chipmunks, right? That's usually what happens to me.
Got you on the owl or something, some speaker.
The owl. Chinsanine. Or Goopy. I will just, how about if I just come down?
We can hear you now, though. It's different, but we can hear you.
Okay. I'll just kind of speak a little bit louder than normal. So council, beginning on page 2, explains how we are able to make requests to the Northwest Regional Office. They always have unobligated funding at the end of the year. I submitted a request to all of our Indian Affairs funded programs. I received requests from law enforcement and from Natural Resources Division of Fish, Wildlife, Recreation, and Conservation. The law enforcement request is to purchase body cameras and also vehicle cameras. As you can see in the continuing on through the next couple of pages, we have to submit those requests by line item. So the body cameras alone is $127,000. Fleet cameras over $400,000. Natural Resources, they would like to purchase a vehicle, the trash receptacles, another patrol vehicle for fish and game, and contracted a consultant to provide some training. The total of requests, $723,000. I don't have any time frame for when the funds might be awarded if they are approved. And then we also do a breakout of those requests. In any case, we may get some of those requests funded. That's why we have to itemize them out like that. So requesting your permission to submit, the deadline is September 30th.
Motion by Carol to approve the submittal for the Bureau of Indian Affairs Northwest Regional Office end of the year unobligated funds. Second by Jennifer.
I have one question.
Go ahead, Carol.
Does anybody else remember when tribal police came in, they said if they had a particular camera located at a certain place, that they could see people that are coming into the reservation that had been identified as potential drug, smugglers or whatever. Does anybody else remember that? There was a cam they said they could put up at the reservation boundary and try to identify these vehicles coming on. And I was wondering why they don't just try to buy those if they could, that would cut down on tribal police time, I think, if you could identify. Yeah, and I'm thinking, why don't they really strongly consider something like that? Because then we can start catching the people at the border and knowing that they are here and they're coming in, so.
Go ahead, Martin.
If that was like a camera that would read license plates, and I believe they're using those over in Washington and Idaho. And I don't remember if it was Montana was a privacy issue or if we just had too many entries and doing the res, but I know it was prohibited something, some way. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, I think it's hung up on state law. Why we don't have any traffic cameras like that. It's for catching people running stoplights, or it's pretty detailed. I've gotten a couple of those tickets. I got out of them. They didn't have my picture. They actually are so detailed, they'll see your face and they can identify the driver. And luckily it was the backside. So they couldn't recognize my bald spot. We went into the great debate for that purpose at the Ravalli Hill check station. Ravalli check station, where we wanted to put cameras out and monitor the traffic coming by. And the state wouldn't let us. But we were able to put cameras on site. So when we do our investigation, once they pull into the grounds, we got them. But it was a traffic drive-bys that we didn't have. We wanted to be able to identify them as a drive-by and go after them. But it's still one of those things that would be a great tool. And we should always encourage our state legislator folks to remedy that inefficiency. Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks, Chairman. Is that something we could do on our properties, like our gaming properties?
They do have cameras.
Mhm. Do they capture the license plate?
Depends on the detail of their cameras, where they're set up, on the grounds. Got them in the parking lot. We have them at Blue Bay, a lot of sites. A lot of times you have to give people notice that there's cameras on the premise. People perform differently. That's the great thing about the body cameras. We noticed at the Ravalli check station that once they see that camera hanging around your neck, their whole attitude changes. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Okay, any other further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, show of hands. Unanimous. Thanks, Ruthie.
Thank you.
Good morning again. So moving on to my items, which begin on number 6. So what I'm prepared to present to council today is the request for the indexing amount that is to be applied to the discretionary amount of money that was received. Yeah, each year we present a letter, each year the tribes present a letter and a rationale or a methodology for requesting the indexing or the true up. Keeping in mind that the $1 billion was received on May 19th, they offered a good faith effort of $22,585,000 along with that amount. We've gone through the indexing calculations, which is here on your screen, which shows that if the index is applied on a pro rata basis, that the total amount that would have been applied to the billion is $179,521,742.75. They added, or pardon me, referring back to the 22 million that was implied in the initial payment, that is a due or owed amount of 156,936,742.76. Along with the accountants at the BIA, we've come to that agreement after applying the indexing and the amount and accounting for the good faith amount that was received, and we agree on that amount. So what I've included here is the letter requesting that, and the resolution behind it referring to the method and reserving our rights to make reserving your rights to make the same calculation in the future and on any upcoming mandatory payments.
Any questions for Greg? Motion by Ellie. Second by Martin. Any further discussion?
I do, but I want to go into executive.
For the vote?
No, after.
Okay.
I'll do this. I'll second.
So we have a motion by Ellie, second by Martin. Any further discussion? All those in favor, show your hands. Yep. 8-4, 1 abstention, Carol.
All right, moving forward. All right, moving forward to page 11. So the second request I'm presenting here today is that we are moving into the third year of the 10 years for mandatory funding. This refers to the $90 million obligatory payments from the federal government. We are entering into fiscal year 23, which is the third payment of that $90 million. Each and every year, we send a letter to Pamela Williams indicating that, referring to the act again and indicating that council has agreed to accept that $90 million and to allocate it between the compact and the implementation account. Over the course of the last 6 months, we've been working very closely with NRD and the Water Compact implementation team, and their anticipated budget for the upcoming fiscal year is about $40 million. So consistent with the prior year recommendation of dividing the $90 million evenly or equally between the two funds makes perfect sense as we go into the next fiscal year. So the resolution reaffirms the mandatory payment amount and the allocation of those funds 50-50 between the compact account and the deferred settlement account.
Greg, go ahead, Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Greg, I've always wondered about the 50-50 split. We can't spend our portion of that money until the implementation's totally completed, right? Isn't that correct?
There is what's called there are checkpoints built in, and I have a list of them on my desk, but they refer to what must be done before the supplemental or the settlement amount can be accessed.
Yeah.
My understanding is not that all of the projects need to be complete, but that these milestones must be met. And I can get that list for you from the act.
Well, I guess the wonder that I have is if there's any year that the implementation budget might be over 90 million, should we have more in that account waiting for them?
So to answer that question, the answer is absolutely. But I would remind the council that you've instructed the previous two payments to be divided 50-50. And in the first fiscal year and the second fiscal year, I don't believe that there have been meaningful erosion of those first two payments, but those two payments are already pulled down into that compact side and remain available in liquid in order to accomplish some of those goals. But each and every year at around the midpoint of the year, we start engaging with water compact implementation. And there may be a time when you direct all 90 million to the compact side, but it will be met with the reserves that have not been spent, and to plant a seed for some upcoming conversations. There will be a decision that council will be making about how to divide the $1 billion plus the $179 million indexing amount between those two. And we're working diligently to try to find out what does that roadmap look like and what do those intended costs fit into either bucket to help advise and guide council on how that decision will be made.
And whichever account it's in, we still make the same amount of basic interest or whatever on it.
My obligation is to keep them fully invested. To the extent that there are short-term upcoming needs, those investments are short-term in nature and will earn whatever the prevailing rate of interest is. But on some of the settlement funds, which have a little bit longer timeline, we're investing those a little bit longer, and the presumption is they will earn a little bit larger rate of interest. But they are fully invested according to the obligation.
Thank you. That's just what I wanted to know.
Thank you, sir.
Good question, Mike. Thank you. I akin it to the dam mitigation funds that we did. We had a big lump sum in the beginning. We didn't expand it. It's hard to spend this money. So you have the carryover that's available. The important aspect of it is what Greg said, is if you know what your work plan is for the upcoming year, that allows that unspent fund to be maybe get a little higher interest rate. But that's Greg's management. And interest rates are going up, so he'll want to play with that a little bit more if he can, and get those work projects and timelines more specific with our crew out there. Go ahead, Craig.
One of the challenges that we made across the board to all budgets and to all programs was to deliver a 1-year work plan and to create a 2 to 5 year arc for their departments. And the hope of that is to be able to be informed from the programs themselves about what their expectations are beyond just the next fiscal year. One of the things that we began actively doing, I had a meeting here in Chambers with many of the departments to try to encourage them to find areas where the precious tribal resources had been going to fund certain legacy departments across the organization, and to tie those in with water compact implementation needs. So our strategy in this fiscal year is to take some of that water compact funding that matches some of the legacy activities in the existing organization and supplant them or replace them with water compact funding, releasing back to the tribes some of those precious tribal dollars. And we're actively doing that with each and every program in the legacy group, so as not to just hire them all over into water compact, but to maintain certain activities in NRD and fisheries and the sciences that support water compact and fund them with those water compact dollars, preserving the precious tribal resources. So we're actively doing that.
Thank you, Greg. Go ahead, Carol.
Yeah, just question along that line. Is the language in that legacy group, or is that down the road? Because, you know, preserving our language because of what's gone on here in the history. So is that a part of that or not?
Yes, ma'am. The members of the group that were invited each played a role, but in preservation, in language, in culture. I'll send around the reference point in the act. Section 8H uses refer specifically to section 2 of implementation and section 11 of preserving culture, language, and developing the right processes on the reservation to continue the support of language and artifacts, et cetera. So those ladies and gentlemen in the field in those legacy programs were invited to this meeting so that they could help articulate the value and importance of their work and tie it into the water compact so that we could use funding from water compact directly tied to the section 8H 11 uses to support their funding, and to ultimately, if I'm being direct, to reduce the reliance on the precious tribal resources and to fully fund those activities with water compact funding and to free those dollars up for other activities.
Exactly what I wanted to hear, but the other question I have, does that include in CUSM? Because they're not a program. they're outside of us, but they could certainly use the precious dollars that are coming out to help continue continue in CUSUM, and then also the culture committee that also funds these language groups that are really doing an awesome job to get people, you know, learning the language. So I want to make sure they have the funding that they need. Because right now I think there's a real shortage of tribal dollars to do that, but this will, I think, help out a lot.
I've engaged both of the culture committees in this effort, in this task of tying the section 8H11 uses to their programs, and I will add in CUSUM to that list. Thank you.
Any additional questions for Greg on the request to approve the resolution in the letter for the third water compact distribution allocation? Motion by Mike to approve the letter and the resolution. Is there a second? Second by Jennifer. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous? Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, Jody. Yeah. Okay. Morning, Jody.
Good morning.
You're up.
Okay, thank you. So I have a resolution that is authorizing the Salish and Kootenai Housing Authority to apply for the Indian Community Development Block Grant for fiscal year 2022. And this application does require a public comment period that we will do, but for preliminary purposes, we would like to, we need more funding for our Flathead Finance Program that provides home ownership opportunities for our tribal members. And then also we want to do fences for our low rent units. And we would start with probably the easiest fence boundaries in Pishi and St. Ignatius. So those are our preliminary plans, but it will also depend on what the public comment feedback is. This is an annual grant that we apply for every year.
And you're pretty much awarded every year.
Yes, we score very highly because we do everything that HUD requires. Not everybody does that. So we're very successful in this grant.
Is there a cap on it, Jody?
Yeah,
The amount?
the ceiling, I want to say, is 1.2 million. It changes every year. Let me minimize this and I can pull it up for you.
Any other questions for Jody?
Yes.
No, I just seen if there's any more questions.
It's not, I'm not seeing it, but last year, I think it was 1 million. This year, I think it's 1.2 million.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Motion by Carol to approve the resolution to authorize Salish Kootenai Housing Authority to submit fiscal year 2022 Indian Community Block Grant, Development Block Grant on behalf of CSKT. Second by Mike. Any further discussions? Seeing none, all those in favor, show of hands. Unanimous.
Thank you very much. That was quick and easy. I appreciate your guys' support and we'll do the best we can.
Okay, thank you.
Take care.
Morning, Jace. Getting a little irrigation water out there, late season runoff. Yeah. Right, Mike, was it raining in, oh my goodness, it's a good sock in.
Members of council, today, I'm here to discuss, I got a couple things. First is contract modification to contract 20-120. This is the, Jocko K Headworks. So we're currently building it. This is with McMillan Jacobs. And what this for is, this is some stuff that we kind of left hanging out there. Number one was the integration of the pit tag detection system for fisheries. This is something that Barfoot and Les really wanted. And we got the pit tag guys involved a little late. We knew roughly what we needed, but we didn't know exactly. And they were actually really slow. So we got the final design out so we could get to constructability. And we've been working with these guys for a year to figure out with their equipment how to make it work on the design. We got there. This is kind of, and then as we moved into construction, there was some excessive submittals and resubmittals. As you see, we're 56% when McMillan had budgeted for 33. So the mod is for 88,983, and we'll raise the contract total to $754,202. And I would say of the 88, we fully expected the pit tag system to be somewhere in the $70,000 range. So the additional for the resubmittals isn't excessive by any means.
Got to know where those fish are going.
Yeah, it's actually gonna be pretty cool. So we're, just to give you guys a 10,000 foot view, we're working on it at the lower J diversion, the rock ramp there at Ravalli. And then we'll have it at the Jocko K Headworks structure. And then we're also looking at it at Upper S. So we'll be able to track the fish and kind of know which ones are preferred in the Middle Fork versus the North Fork. And maybe down the road, we can even tag the ones that will make it up the South Fork.
Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Jason. I'd like to make the motion to add the additional 88,983 to modification 4 of contract 20-120. Bringing the amount to what's on the paper. Thank you.
Motion by Martin to approve the contract modification 4. Second by Carol. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, show of hands. Unanimous. Go bull trout.
Yeah, it'll be pretty cool. I think long term, the dream, you worked with the fisheries guys, be to even have some detection devices at Sloan's and Buffalo, if we can track them up and down the river, and not for fishing purposes, just for science, guys.
Pit tags are amazing because you can use them to trigger gates. You can count anything. You use them and
Yeah, it's
we're
really,
using them to track boats.
Yeah.
You put them in cows, it's amazing. Buffalo,
Yeah.
buffalo.
yeah, it's really cool stuff. So
Bing.
putting it in a river has got its challenges, and,
Yeah.
and that's stuff to work through.
Yeah.
Lower J, you're gonna, at some point, we'll explain to you, it's actually quite challenging there, but we'll figure it out.
Go ahead, Bing.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hey, Jace, I was looking at that project down in Lower Jocko down there, before you come on, Jocko there. That piece that they're working on there, is that going to be the, where the new river goes? I mean, the river going through there, what's the plan for that?
So what you're seeing now is we're using what will be the emergency spillway or the flood spillway, or however you want to call it. So that's what we're using right now. And then what they're doing today is they're still removing the metals, the stuff that we wanted to salvage from the current structure and the Kiwanda fish screen that was down the forebay. And then starting Monday, they're going to just demo all the remaining concrete and start to excavate down to start to, by the end of next week, the forms will be going in to start pouring concrete on the new Jocko K headwork structure.
So is all that water going to go down the canal?
Well, so we'll continue to use this spillway until later this winter when we got the new structure completed with the new Kiwanda in and all that, the forebay's filled in. So that's, going away with this, and then we'll we'll take the bags and then protect the spillway and put all the flow of the Jocko over the new headwork structure. And so the spillway, we actually got to put in, there's two flood mechanisms. One is stop logs that when the river height starts damming up and behind the headwork structure, it'll trigger these stop logs and they'll pop off. Well, then the river, so now suddenly it's 20 feet by 8 feet, it can flow more. And then if it continues to rise even farther and we start to approach the 200-year plus flood events, there's actually an earthen piece that will start to erode away. So as the river gets higher, it starts to erode away, and then it by its own force, it lowers it, it opens up this other opening. So that big girth you see there is actually two mechanisms for flood, so that we don't completely overtop the Jocko headwork structure and cause a bunch of damage on the side that where we've got the forebay now and we're trying to protect. It's really an ingenious idea. And then part of the restoration will be, we'll plant some trees so that it won't look as concrete-y as you may see it sometimes.
Just by looking at it, looks like you guys going to have, it's going to take a little bit longer to get that done. I mean, I was looking at it the other day, I come out of there and I was looking, what they look like, they got a lot of work to do yet on this.
Yeah, we do. We're gonna get rock and rolling though. I mean, it's progressing along as planned. We're on our timeline, within a day, give or take. So they get ahead and then they kind of lose a day. But we're right on time. The rebars showed up, started, 2 loads have come this week. The forms are there. So, we're getting it done. The idea is to start pouring concrete in October and hopefully be done with the major foundation pours while we still have good weather on our side. As we all know, we could get a blizzard on the 23rd of October and we may not see snow till Thanksgiving. So, those guys are very aware. Most of them are based out of Missoula. So, they get Western Montana very well. But yeah, it's, so just one explanation. Somebody said, man, that spillway looks so much bigger than the old one. Well, that's because the old one was way undersized. That's why when the Jocko flooded, it actually overtopped the structures and went over the forebay and then piled all the logs down on the Kiwanda screen at the other end. And, it was a mess. So we've actually looked at the flows of the Jocko. And that's where there was some HEC-RAS modeling done multiple times. That's U.S. Army Corps of Engineers flood control software that they like to look at. And no, it's well thought out. And when we get into the restoration piece, Tabby's team will do a real good job of making it look as natural as it looked before. So, but this one will last for 100+ years. Next up, I had an additional request. As many of you know, this has actually been going on for 6 months. But we got two small firms. They're essentially individuals, Win Engineering LLC and Water Resource Consulting LLC. Both of them are retired individuals that live on the reservation and are interested in providing some engineering support. One of them is really a real salty field guy, has been supporting the Wapato irrigation project recently, doing field work. Will be really beneficial when we bring on these materials engineering techs and inspectors and helping us with construction execution, office to field. And then the other individual will Water Resource Consulting will fill the role of doing some kind of third party engineering, what we call audits, just double checking everything, making sure the pipe is the right size, just, sometimes engineers, we get caught up and maybe we miss something. It's a guy that's, we'll help out, and sometimes we'll be in the team, but most of the time we'll sit out and we'll just say, hey, we need you to verify these numbers for us. So they both have a cap of $108,000 per fiscal year. So it's a part-time job for them, a day and a half to 2 days a week. But would like to be able to bring them on and need your guys' permission to do such.
Yeah, go ahead, Carol.
I'll make the motion on this one. I think it's just us doing the due diligence of our crew to make sure that we have the right materials and stuff, because if we don't, it's gonna be costly. So
Yeah,
I think that's all they're doing is checking it, and I think that's a good thing with this kind of money we're talking about.
yeah, me and Seth both feel that these two individuals could add some value that we're strapped. In making sure that when we ask for field testing, we have a guy there to verify it. I have one engineer, he's basically at Jocko K every day, full time. So if there's some other offsite testing going on, like say, for example, Dick Anderson's getting gravel from Treasure State, but who's gonna make it up to check that sieve analysis? So just trying to have an extra person who's local. This is not a full-time role. And it's not planned to be, but we just need some support, and that's what these two individuals can provide for us. Both of them are retired and made it very clear they're not looking for a full-time job, but they would like to help out.
Motion by Carol, second by Bing. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, show of hands. Six, you vote now? Oh, okay. 8-4, one against? Are you for? Against, okay. Martin, or Glenn, voting no. Okay,
I think that's all I got.
Was that for both engineers?
Yes.
what, I know the one, what's the other one's name?
Water Resource Consulting is Mr. Glenn Faust from Moise.
Okay,
What's that? Yeah, they're both contracts are in there.
I didn't see the other one, but
Which one?
the Faust one.
He's Water Resource Consulting.
I can email it.
Do we need
We only
to?
have the Gordon one in our packet.
Okay.
Okay. I can email it to you.
Okay, listen, thank you.
Gordon Wynn is Wynn Engineering. Yeah. And then Glenn Faust is Water Resource Consulting. So Glenn was born and raised here as a Faust, worked up in Alaska, did a lot of municipal water systems for the nations up there. And then retired back to Moise.
So the question is that individual action for each contract?
On the
Full
wind,
notice.
I can do
This
the
is a
one on the
3-year
house.
contract.
Okay, so the action was on the wind engineering.
Okay.
So, okay, and Carol's motioning to approve the Faust contract under the same terms.
Important that we include, it's a recommendation from you and Seth.
That is correct.
Second by Mike. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous? Yeah, go ahead,
When
Carol.
we had that pump out in the middle of the Dixon River, that the river changed and that pump just sat there and it was like, I don't know, I heard $1 million and I thought, well, we don't need that kind of stuff happening. And then I know how shorthanded everybody is, across this nation. So I think you're just doing what you need to do for the program to make sure our dollars are spent in the way that they need to be.
Yeah, these guys both have, they're very expert. Their hourly rate that they'll bill is significantly lower than we would pay for any other of the firms that we have working for us. This is really a bargain for CSKT and the water compact projects that we're working on, honestly. So
We did use headhunter firms also to look for them, and we did advertise.
yeah, this just helps. We're struggling, both, Casey with the hydrology roles and us with the engineering roles, finding people. And this just helps us in the short term, in the meantime, till we can find those individuals. The farther we look, we keep finding the same results. So, this will be good. Thank you guys very much. Appreciate your.
Jace, one thing came up yesterday. I don't know if you heard about it, but the county roads program was a little concerned. They'd like to have more coordination on when the projects are happening, just to maybe do dust abatement or that kind of thing.
Yes, I've met with Jay and one of the commissioners. So, yeah,
Okay,
we're working on it.
Rich? Go ahead, Rich.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, we are working with the county and we have done dust abatement back there, but it was understandable that the commissioners didn't know that. We are in touch with Jay continuously on these projects. So they're well aware now. And also, we did our due diligence. We've been beating the brush for engineers, and they're just not willing to come to a rural setting with the pay that we're offering. And so we've vetted both Mr. Faust and Gordon Wind very extensively, going 6 months, and we're finally here. So thank you for approving these 2 contracts for us. And we're also looking at, looking at our next generation of tribal members that want to be engineers. And where we hired 2 trainees this past year in hydrology and GIS, both young tribal members, and we hope to get them back as they're in school full time. So expect some educational agreements to come forward in the future.
Thank you, Rich. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate your time today.
Go out and enjoy the rain.
I will. Thank you.
Hope that doesn't hold up that project any. Yeah, it does that. Okay, next up is the,
Abby will be presenting for this request.
okay, go ahead, Abby.
Morning, council. Could I request executive session just for a quick minute?
Absolutely, we'll move into executive.